Hello. Hello, this is the My Artifact episode number 3971. Today's date is March 30, 2026. It's been almost like a morning at 8 a.m. Let's just ask question. Right? Okay, so question is, what are teacher deployment policies producing inequality such as chronic shortages in rural, tribal, or remote school, and what mechanism will correct that? Okay. Okay, first of all, what exactly is this question and why am I asking this question to myself? This question is actually about Indian education system. Why am I asking this question to myself? I wanted to become a education minister of India in the future, and for that particular purpose I wanted to aware of that ki what kind of like a some problem will I face and what kind of like idea do I have for solving that problem. Okay. uh right, so let's just kind of like a simplify this question in simple language. Okay. Basically, let's just understand the question first. Okay, the question is, what are teachers deployment policy producing inequality such as chronic shortages in rural, tribal, or remote school, and what mechanism will correct that? It means that ki why are no teachers in the remote area and what is the plan to get there. Okay. So basically, is this thing, first of all, where is actually question came from? Okay. So this question is actually came from like basically is this thing I say like I wanted to become a kind of like a something education minister of India. So I went to ChatGPT. I said this thing. I wanted to become this particular person. Suggest me at least like 100 question. ChatGPT kind of like a suggest me hundreds of question. This is one of those question. Most of the question are actually in the mobile phone in the PDF I save. But the problem is that while recording, I cannot do fiddle that thing. So that's why I kind of like wrote the question in here. Okay, this is a kind of like a question. Okay, this is, and yeah. By the way, if you are wanted to know what is at least this book, this is the book How to Win and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Very amazing book. All right, yeah. So the question is that how do I supposed to be kind of like a basically shortages of teacher in rural area. Okay, yeah. And how do I supposed to fix that thing? Okay. So let me talk about something. Okay, yeah. First of all, what is exactly teacher? Okay, yeah. Let's just start from simple thing. What is exactly teacher? Teacher are responsible for kind of like a student will kind of like get the knowledge. Okay, yeah. Teacher are only person who kind of like giving them like why like the student will not gonna get that information by themselves. They get but they might not understand. Why not? Because they are not really that much good so that they would understand that concept. So that's why teacher are kind of like there. But I think that now I am completely wrong in that context. Okay, like I kind of like somebody is this thing now. Is this thing that a teacher is not just a kind of like a only particular person who kind of like a giving the knowledge and things and that. Let me kind of like a simplified. In entire period of lifetime in human, most of the information that human has or every person has is by self study, is by self understanding the things. Okay, yeah. Example, ask anyone who is a kind of like a somebody, let's just say I am 32. Okay, yeah. And what kind of like a somebody that kind of like a lesson that I still remember that my teacher taught me in the school. Do I remember any kind of like concept? Probably nothing. Maybe something I remember till now, but no. But still, I have kind of like some sort of opinion. I have some sort of knowledge and things and that. Then where that knowledge actually came from? That knowledge is came from the way that I see the world and understand the world and things and that. Like basically, this is what exactly happened. The human development is actually happened when we are kind of like a try to see the world and understand what is actually existing and that. And not just me, every human being are kind of like goes through that particular process and it understand the like a basically world by themselves. Okay, yeah. most of the humans have knowledge about self-study. They understand things and they understand the concept and things and that and that. Okay, yeah. So basically, it's this thing that the teacher are not a kind of like a simply particular person who are kind of like simply giving the information to students and things and that and that. Okay, yeah. Because most of the humans will have information is because of they understand things by themselves and they do self-study. Okay, like a self-study is a kind of like a things that it's not a kind of like a thing that you just take a book and started reading. It's not. Okay, yeah. It's a kind of like a simply the way that we look up the world and understand the concept, things and that and that. Okay, yeah. Like let's just say is this thing that a politician have very different mindset. Okay, yeah. He understand that how do he supposed to be kind of like a win the election. Kind of like somebody CEO of the company who understand how do he supposed to be increase the profit and things and that and that. A YouTube creator who kind of like understand how do he supposed to make a kind of like a video. Is there any kind of like a school for that? No. Then how does that particular person knows that thing? He understand, those people understand and things and that and that. Same thing is this thing. Every profession doesn't really have any kind of like a proper school. Training, yeah, training are actually available. That's essential. Okay, yeah. But understanding of how things actually happen is kind of like understanding by ourselves and things and that and that. So basically this thing, I'm just kind of like giving you through some sort of random number. So basically this thing, almost like a 90% of the human knowledge is actually came from self-analyzation, self-study and things and that and that. 10% actually came from school and things and that and that and that and that. Okay, yeah. Basically, okay, let me kind of like you might not kind of like simply understand. Okay, so let me kind of like say, okay, yeah. So this is a book that I am reading. Okay, yeah. So I am reading. So am I doing self-study or am I kind of like someone teaching me? I am kind of like simply reading this book by myself. I am willing to take action to read things. That is called self-study. Okay, yeah. It's like I am putting effort to understand things. That is called self-study. Okay, it's not really that key kind of like something that like automatically information came inside of me. That is also happened too. That is also happened. That called experience. That called experience. Because when you are kind of like working in some sort of company, industry or surrounding, you understand things. That is called consuming information through surrounding area and you get that thing. Okay, yeah. So that is also called analyze and understanding and things and that and that. Oh yeah. So this is what it is. As also is this thing, you went to YouTube and click any kind of like a video that you watch. Like basically I see a kind of like some YouTube video regarding about that key why does kind of like some Iranian oil have a kind of like a lot of people who are kind of like willing to take and things and that and that. Now I see the video, I click that video. So basically that is called self-study. Means I legitimately put effort, like I wanted to know regarding about what exactly happened in Iran and things and that and that. I click it thing, that particular person kind of like give the information, things and that. I kind of like some this thing self-study. What exactly it means? It means that now let's just say self-study means like that, let's just say a kind of like only a door. Okay, let's just say a door. Okay, yeah. And you open that door, like basically a door where information actually came. Okay, yeah. So you put effort. You means you put effort to open that door so that you will get that information. That is called self-study. Okay, yeah. Someone kind of like giving you information. Someone, okay, yeah. Then that someone will have a responsibility to open that door. Okay, yeah. And this will happen very less. Like basically that's why most of the people are asleep during the lecture. Why? Because they didn't really open that door. Okay, or teacher doesn't really have credible enough to let them open and things and that and that. Okay, yeah. Like basically what exactly is this thing now? If I want to learn, I will open the door by myself now. Okay, yeah. And consume the information that is actually available in everywhere. Okay, yeah. If someone kind of like somebody telling this thing and I will close that door, why would I supposed to? Why? Like I don't really think that. Like I don't really think that I should consume that information. So I will close that door. So even if there is a way much really good teacher, if I close that door, I will not gonna get the information. I don't want to get information. Like basically this thing, what exactly is this thing? Education shouldn't supposed to be provided. Education should supposed to be access. Okay, just access, like basically let them access, let them get, let them get the information. Do not force them to give the information, do not force them to learn this, learn that. No, let them understand that key why this actually like important, and why should they supposed to be know about that particular stuff. Let them open, students should supposed to be let them open their door by themselves. Okay, yeah. And when they do that, they will understand more, they will understand more. Okay, yeah. So that is what it is. Like basically what does that happen? A self study means like that you will open that door and you will get more and more information. But a teacher will kind of like force you to open that door. You might gonna open very less door. Okay, and when you open very less door, you might take very less information. In some other choices you might not open that door. So that's why we are not really kind of like only that much like a teacher are kind of like teaching something, and I'm kind of like thinking about something. Okay, it's actually happened in a kind of like assembly college lecture and things and that. But this is not actually happen when you watch YouTube videos. In the YouTube video there is a kind of like a particular video regarding about something. Okay, yeah. So you are not kind of like a things that you are not kind of like a things that like thinking about something and watching something video. No, it's not. Okay, that is not. Okay, like basically this thing, if you don't want to watch the video, you just skip that video, right? It's far more easier. Okay, yeah. So this is what it is. So basically is this thing that the only one thing that keeps you to watch that video is that you wanted to watch that video. Okay, yeah. The freedom of want. I want to students should supposed to be get the freedom of what they want. Okay, yeah. In classroom, a teacher is kind of like a teaching you. Student does not really get the stuff that I want. Like basically a student like think that no yaar, I don't really like this lecture, I'm kind of like a boring, just swipe it left and kind of like watch something. It's not actually happen in real classroom, no, but it actually happen in YouTube, it actually happen in things like that. So basically, do you understand? The information is kind of like a simply depends on such a people that they want or not. Okay, if they want, they will kind of like get the information. If they don't, they will not gonna get the information. That is the important thing. I want students should supposed to be open that door by themselves. Okay, yeah, they will learn by themselves. That's why I'm literally focused on self-study, not a kind of like only focus on teacher. Okay, because what exactly happen now? If I kind of like somebody make pressure a teacher that why is your classroom is not really kind of like that student, why they are not learning and things and that's not really like the one thing that I understand. You cannot control other people. Literally, you just control yourself. Even if that other person is kind of like your significant other or your child or things, you cannot control other people. You might influence, you might kind of like give the guidelines, but you cannot control other people. That is not gonna possible. Okay, yeah. So let them kind of like somebody build a curiosity. Like basically what exactly is this thing now? Teacher shouldn't supposed to be focused on teaching stuff. They should supposed to be teaching about building a curiosity. Okay, yeah. If the teacher build the curiosity, student will know something like that. Like basically this thing, ask this question. Okay, yeah. Teacher will gonna say like a cliffhanger probably. Okay, yeah. Like a teacher will gonna say, have you ever noticed that in the entire world we are kind of like doing a trade in dollar? Why we have that? Okay, yeah, that build curiosity. Student wants to know that yeah, like why we are using dollar. Okay, why we are kind of like comparing everything with the dollar and things like that. That's build the curiosity. Teacher shouldn't supposed to give the answer, just build the curiosity. Okay, when they build the curiosity, student will automatically open that door and they will search for themselves that why is actually happening, why things and that. Like another thing is that teacher will gonna say, why do you think that Abu Dhabi built a kind of like one of the biggest building in the world? Why? Ask this question. A teacher should ask this question to a student. Now student will kind of like create the curiosity. Yeah, why? Like why do we really require to build that much big building? Okay, yeah. And also is this thing, even if that building, why not other countries are making that much big building? Okay, yeah, things and that. like basically this in US has a kind of like a very so much amount of money. They could supposed to be make that building in their country, but they are not. Why? Okay, yeah, curiosity. Teacher should supposed to be focus on curiosity. If they build curiosity, student will knows that ki they will like unanswered question kind of like create a lot of kind of like a something attention. Okay, and that is I want attention. Student will knows like a student will figure it out by themselves. They have internet, they have everything. They will get the information. Just build the curiosity. That's the what I want. Okay, that's the kind of like assembly that key I should supposed to focus on teacher, that they should supposed to build the curiosity and things and that and that. But how? Like asking this question and things and that. So let me kind of like tell you the entire structure. By the way, this question is actually about that key, how do we supposed to relocate teacher from things and that, and let's give the answer. Let's understand what is actually my structure and things and that. Okay, yeah. So basically this thing, I will gonna do the reforms in kind of like Indian education system, and that reform name as a Gurukul program. Okay, so that is called entire Gurukul program. Okay, yeah. Now what is actually a Gurukul program? In the Gurukul program, okay, yeah, I will gonna provide a app. Okay, a app will kind of like a student will kind of like open that app, and they will kind of like simply do the homework. Okay, let me tell you one thing regarding about this Gurukul program. In my Gurukul program, there is no exam. Okay, yeah, there is no unit test, there is no marks, there is no pass, there is no fail. No, nothing at all. Student just do their homework every single day. That's it. I focus on consistent effort, not a final impact. If I'm consistent putting effort, then I will kind of like make sure they are kind of like a growing and things and that. Okay, this is the one thing. Okay, another thing. Gurukul program is initiate, like basically Gurukul program is kind of like somebody initiate from the like from every education, but it focus means like that it kind of like somebody implement from 5th standard. What exactly happened? I will build a Gurukul. Okay, now what's a Gurukul? Gurukul is a place where boys hostel, girls hostel, school, mess, library, playground, things, and it's an entire campus with have capacity of almost like 1,000, 2,000 students and things and that. Okay, yeah. And student will get into the Gurukul. Okay, my student will not gonna go home. No, they will not. They will stay in the Gurukul and they will live with their own kind. Okay, yeah. Okay, first of all, why am I not letting them go home? Okay, yeah. My goal, my purpose is that he create a kind of like some very quality of citizen for the future, and that quality of citizen for the future requires that I should supposed to give the information and knowledge and things and that. But school are kind of like doing the same thing, right? Well, they are not. Why is that? Because knowledge is not depend upon how much knowledge that you give. It depends on how you give that knowledge, plus how much kind of like a something physical activity actually happen. Let me tell you one thing. This book is really good, really great. Can I able to be read this book day and night? No, I cannot. If I want to read, I might not get the information. I might not grasp that information. Why is that? Because our mind really requires of physical things. Okay, specifically in teenagers, specifically in kind of like a kids, they have to be move, they have to be play, they have to be sports, they have to be exercise. When they do exercise, they will refresh their mind and they will kind of like simply learn. So basically this is, I will not gonna provide just education, I will gonna provide a kind of like a physical health exercise. These are very much essential to get more information, make their kind of like a brain as much as kind of like a simply that productivity, nutrient hungry and things and that. Okay, yeah. But dude, like a basically like a student will kind of like a go home and they will kind of like a play, they will kind of like a do the physical activity. No, that is not. They will not gonna do that physical activity. Oh, why not? Okay, yeah. Like I see a lot of kind of like a some student who kind of like a go home and play and things and that. Okay, yeah. That is not. Okay, what exactly happened? When the student will kind of like a go home, they will kind of like a, let's just say in the school there is a kind of like a environment. Let's just say this is a kind of like environment of the school. Okay, yeah. With a friend, teacher, things and that. Now student will kind of like a go from this bubble to go this bubble. This is a home bubble. Okay, yeah. Now in the home bubble there is a lot of thing, like a mother, father, kind of like a things, like a lot of stuff. Okay, problems and things and that and that. Why should I supposed to be student should supposed to go there? Because when the student kind of like went there, he will crippled. Crippled means like there is a lot of thing that is unwanted. Like basically unwanted means what? Like basically this thing might be some sort of student will kind of like get the privilege of getting to play and things and that and that. Okay, yeah. But in some sort of situation they might not get. Why? Because there is no people left, there are no kids there. So who is that particular kid will kind of like playing with? Will that particular person play with their parents? Okay, things and that and that. Another thing, parents will kind of like do a lot of pampering. Okay, pampered means what? A kind of like a very take care of their child. Okay, yeah. And when they take care of that child, that student, that particular kid will not gonna evolve with how he should supposed to be live in the real world. Okay, yeah. Because in the real world, parents will not always be there. In somewhat something in their life, he have to face the world. He have to live with the people and things and that and that. Okay, yeah. I wanted to give that much amount of kind of like assembly knowledge and information regarding about how that particular person kind of like assembly live with the society and things and that and that. When that particular person, when that particular kid will kind of like live with their parents, he will kind of like in that safe bubble. I don't want that bubble. Okay, I like that bubble will kind of like cripple that particular person that particular kid will not gonna kind of like grow that much. Let me tell you one thing, when you fail, you are try to get succeed. If my bubble is not giving that failure consequences, how that particular person will kind of like evolve and succeed? No. That's why I want my students should supposed to be in the Gurukul for like basically for rest of the lifetime. Rest of the lifetime means what? I want my students should supposed to be from 5th standard to graduation. Okay, they will kind of like stay in the Gurukul. It's not really that in the weekend that student will kind of like go to the home and stay will kind of like with their parents and things and that, but still this is thing I want that student should supposed to be stay in the Gurukul. Now also when basically this thing, when that student will stay in the Gurukul, I will control their time. Okay, yeah. Means like that when they will go to the school, what kind of like a sports that the activity, what kind of like some other knowledge that they have, because I am controlling their entire time. So I will kind of like somebody determine how they should supposed to be get more and more knowledge, information, experience to making them better and things and that. Obviously I will gonna provide the kind of like a meal and things and that and that and that. Okay, like me means like a government body and government in Indian education system will kind of like provide everything. Okay, yeah. So basically that particular student will nurture from that surrounding. Also he will get fail, but he will also get succeed. Because of that he is not in the safe bubble, he was kind of like with those people and things and that. Okay, yeah. And because of the like he was kind of like live with that like-minded people, he not only play, exercise and things, but he understand how the world work and things and that maturity will come very at early stages in his life, and he will understand what is actually his responsible, what is actually his kind of like some purpose for living the life and things and that. Okay, so this is I want. So when that particular person, when that student will kind of like stay in the Gurukul, I will not only give just a kind of like a knowledgeable information, I will give the physical things and that. Okay, and when this actually happened, that particular student will kind of like become much more better. Now let's talk about the teacher. Okay, yeah. So basically this thing, Gurukul is this thing, the student will not gonna go home, as well as teacher will not gonna go home too. Teacher will also stay there, as well as the entire Gurukul staff will gonna stay here. They have their own quarter in their Gurukul. Okay, yeah. And they will kind of like stay there with their family. Okay, with their family. Okay, yeah. Why? Because I also want that teachers should supposed to be stay in that kind of like a Gurukul program. They stay in the Gurukul so that they will kind of like somebody kind of like control the people, control the students as much as the better, so that they will kind of like a better and things and that. Teacher availability is much more better. Okay, yeah. And also is this thing, there are multiples of teachers, so they build a kind of like a community and things and that, because there is a problem is actually same, and how they should suppose to solve that problem, they will kind of like a talk and discuss and things and that. Okay, yeah. So there is a teacher quarter in the Gurukul too. Also staff there. Staff means Gurukul staff, like basically a cooker, like a particular person who cook, a kind of like assembly, the security and things and that entire staff of Gurukul will stay there. They have their own quarter there. Okay, yeah. and as well as students should supposed to be they stay there. It's not really that they will not gonna kind of like a go home. Oh, how? Sweet. Breakfast, by the way. So this is the pohe. Okay, that's I'm eating today. It's really good. Okay. So what was I kind of like a talking? I was actually talking about that entire Gurukul program and things and that and that. But I'm talking about the teacher now. So how does kind of like some teacher, like how do I supposed to fill the gap of the ruler and things and that and that? Okay. Let me. This is really good. Let me eat that stuff. Okay. Not it. Okay. So basically, I cannot kind of like eat and think at the same time. Okay. But still, I will gonna talk. Okay. So, so basically, what will happen? Actually, let me eat. Let me. It's really good. Okay. You might gonna looking at me at the same time. Yeah, just okay. Let me eat. Okay. Okay, so okay, so basically what exactly happened? Oh yeah, the question is that ki how do I supposed to be kind of like a somebody in the rural area where is a very less amount of teacher actually there, and in the city area there is a lot of amount of teacher. Okay, yeah. Now because of lack of teacher in the rural area, students will not gonna get that much quality of education, and when they are not getting the quality of education, they will not gonna become a really good particular person. So how do I supposed to solve that thing? Okay, so basically as I mentioned, my Gurukul program is a Gurukul is actually kind of like established from the fifth standard. Okay, so that means first standard to fourth standard, these are kind of like a simply very like a very essential education. Okay, and that education will not gonna provide in the Gurukul. Okay, yeah, that education will gonna provide in the locally. Okay, yeah, and how that kind of like a education will gonna provide. Okay, my goal is that ki what kind of like a student will gonna know, what kind of like a knowledge that they get till the fourth standard. Okay, yeah. So I want till the fourth standard, student should supposed to be read, student should supposed to be write, student should supposed to be do understand the numbers 1 2 3 4 5. Student should supposed to be do basic mathematics like addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. Okay, yeah. And fifth, student should supposed to be understand what they read. Probably this might be a very exceptional. Okay, might be I will achieve that or not, but these are kind of like a four things that I want, that students should supposed to be read, students should supposed to be write, students should supposed to be do basic mathematics, addition, subtraction and things and that. Okay, these are kind of like things that I want. Okay, now these education are not a kind of like a something too much. No, it's a very basic education, and probably this education doesn't really require that much quality of education or that much quality of teacher. Okay, yeah, just like basically this thing, like it really required a kind of like a some quality of teacher too, but it's not that much. Okay, like basically if you went to fifth standard, so from the fifth standard you will get very complicated subject, trigonometry, derivative, or differential equation, or kind of like a board mass, or kind of like a in the physics, kind of like a Newton's laws, or kind of like a things and that. Okay, yeah. These are kind of like some education started from the fifth standard, but I'm focusing on 1 to 4th standard. So 1 to 4th standard, student will kind of like a get this like a, these are things, writing, reading, doing kind of like a basic numericals and mathematics and things and that. Okay, yeah. So for this thing, how do I supposed to get the quality of teacher? Okay, most of the teacher will not kind of like a try to go to the village. Why? Because of that ki village have a kind of like a very less kind of like a somebody that ki very less kind of like a thing, very less kind of like a somebody availability of like in the city you will get a lot of things, in village you will not gonna get that thing. Because of this thing, most of the teacher don't really want it to go to the village. Okay, yeah, but because of this thing, I am expecting very less from the teacher, that they should supposed to be kind of like a just do a teaching, do a kind of like a learning and things and that. It's not really that much complicated. Like basically as a kind of like a normal student, more normal kind of like a parents would kind of like a tell them what is exactly things and that. Okay, yeah. And as also is this thing I'm telling from future point of perspective na. Like basically this Gurukul program will gonna implement in 2046. Okay, yeah. From 20 year above. Okay, yeah. So after the 20 year, probably at least parents will know what exactly basic education means what. Okay, yeah. So they will kind of like a teach their kind of like a kids, as well as kind of like in the rural area. I will kind of like a found a such a teacher staff which is actually from that village, actually from that village or local town, and they will kind of like a went there and kind of like a try to teach the basic mathematics. Okay, yeah, basic reading, writing and thing till the 4th standard. Okay, and this is my goal, that I wanted to kind of like let them learn all those things. But still I will not gonna hesitate, like this is kind of like a things that now I should be design that thing, how is actually happened, like where that teacher actually came from. Teacher actually came from local city, sorry, local town, local village, and things and that and that. Okay, one thing. Another thing is that infrastructure, schools. Okay, school should supposed to be available over there, like basic school, not too much, but kind of like a basic school, not far away from, like I'm talking about just a village. Okay, city I already equipped, because in the city probably these are not gonna problem, but in the village they might not have that much school. So probably I will build that kind of like kind of like a normal school where kind of like a first to fourth standard they will kind of like get that proper education regarding about things and that and that. Okay, yeah. This is the things that I want, and probably I have to be more focused on that, because Gurukul program will not gonna implement. Okay, first of all, why not I implement Gurukul program from first standard? Why I'm kind of like a focusing on Gurukul program from the fifth standard? Okay, so in the first standard, the age of that kids are age 5, okay, or age 6. And in this particular period, like basically from the age 5 to age 10, these are kind of like a students are not really that much like a like equipped or getting understanding regarding about away from their parents. Like basically it's this thing, for beginning 10 year, their life is all revolve around their parents. Okay, because they born and they are kind of like see their parents and things and that and that. Okay, yeah. And they will not gonna kind of like go to the school for day and night and things and that, because like they don't want, like it's kind of like somebody that's a cruelty. That's not like I am kind of like taking their kids and put to the school and things and that. It's not. I want that kid, they should supposed to be spend at least like a 10 year of their life with their parents. Okay, regarding about things that know and things and that and that. It kind of like creates the parents and kids kind of like a bonding much more stronger and things and that and that. Okay, yeah. A kind of like assembly parents influential should supposed to be maintained with their kids. Okay, yeah. Like this is kind of like a things that I want. They would kind of like stay there and things. And regarding about teacher, like I already have kind of like a very less kind of like expectation from that teacher, that they should supposed to be just read, write, basic mathematics. Yeah, that's it. Okay, yeah. But like this is a kind of like a thing that na, ki I understand this thing, but I don't understand that much. Okay, yeah. Why? Because of that na, ki I am kind of like simply throughout my entire period of lifetime I've been in city, and I get my all my education in city. Okay, I never really been on village, and I've been on village, but I never really kind of like simply experienced that education in village. Okay, so I'm not really sure about that. Okay, I need a kind of like a ground reality regarding about everything, that what will gonna happen and how things and that. Like a couple of things that I know, that I will gonna hire a local teacher. Okay, so that kind of like somebody, that local teacher, and make sure that local teacher should supposed to be kind of like as good as possible. Okay, yeah. I'm actually like basically I'm actually expecting very less. So like it's not kind of like I'm degrading the quality of the teacher, but it's kind of like a thing that na ki I don't know about that, because quality of teacher I will not gonna get in the village, but somewhat something I get, okay, and that is somewhat something I need. Okay, yeah. And why am I kind of like a hiring the local people? Because of that, ki local people are really good with understanding about their student, and they will know who is actually kid from which kind of like assembly, who is the family, who is that and that and that. Okay, yeah. Also there is no kind of like a transportation cost. Okay, yeah. Because if the teacher will kind of like came from city to village, then problem will that na ki that teacher will not gonna kind of like stay in that school, or they will not gonna put that much amount of effort and things and that, because it's not really good. Okay, yeah. I wanted to kind of like simply hire a kind of like a local. They will understand the kind of like a region area much more better. Also they would kind of like a focus on student much more better. So that's why I wanted to hire those kind of like a local teacher around that village, and they will kind of like a teach everything and that. Okay, now like this is kind of like a problem, because like when the student will kind of like went into the fifth standard, then obviously from the fifth standard I will control everything regarding about teacher, regarding about Gurukul, various things and that. I already mentioned regarding about Gurukul what is actually is this thing in previous artifact episode. I will not gonna mention again. Like basically I mentioned that where is the Gurukul situated, how many capacity of that, the diameter of that, like basically I want that key student should supposed to be entered in the Gurukul, which is kind of like a somebody 100 radius diameter, like 200 and like a 100 kilometer diameter and things, and that they will kind of like a go and things and that. So probably like basically after I ate my breakfast na, right now I'm not in that particular mood. Probably it shrink my thought process. Whatever. This is it. I have to bend here, and thank you.